So you might have noticed that a lot of these political theories trade on an idea of freedom. And so we're going to talk a little bit about, now that we've talked about a number of these theories, we're going to talk a little bit about freedom. So we see that all these political theories are based on different ideas of what it means for humans to be free. And we usually take this to be a good thing. Freedom is a good thing. But we differ on what this means. So we can have technical freedom, or as Rawls called it, freedom in name only, but we want to have genuine, viable choices. Really, to be truly free, we must have genuine choices. So in the Hobbesian state of nature, technically everyone's free, but practically no one is, since we have to constantly protect ourselves from interference from others. So really, most people agree that societal constraints are necessary to effectively be free. And the idea of freedom is also tied to the idea of free will. So, and some people think that we don't have free will, again, if we don't have genuine choices. So if a smoker takes another cigarette, if you're addicted to something, are you really genuinely free? Do you really have free will? And then there are some choices that aren't real choices. If you only have one job opportunity available, and you need a job to make a living, then is that really a choice? If we're compelled by society to do something in particular, is that a real choice? If our entrenched beliefs force us to choose one option over another, is that a real choice? If we're not aware that certain options are available to us, that may not be a real choice. So if freedom is good for humans to have, then a genuinely beneficial government would have to promote actual free choices, actual choices in line with the individual freedom of citizens in the society. So we want to have, like Rawls said, not just freedom in name only, or choices in name only. So maybe to truly be free, we need equal opportunity employment. Maybe we need other things like a free public education, because you can have technically be free to take a certain job, but you're not really free to have that job as an option if you cannot obtain the education to be qualified for that job. So what if you're not physically able to perform certain jobs because of your health? Then universal health care might be a requirement to have truly have choices. Employment options for parents might be limited if they can't have someone take care of their children. So we could argue that government provided childcare is a necessity for freedom. And a good and diverse economy is necessary for employment options to be available for people. So we could say that that might be necessary for freedom. If we're going to take this line, then it seems like we're not likely to choose libertarianism as our ideal political theory, since that view only stresses freedom from government interference. And most of us would agree, if we start to think about it, that just freedom from government interference is not really the kind of freedom that we need for human flourishing. So we need more than that, perhaps. But then libertarians and others might want to ask, okay, well, you're going to restrict individual freedom in order to promote more freedom for everybody, or this for the good of society. And they don't like that idea. So John Stuart Mill said, well, look, some actions by individuals are self-regarding and some are other-regarding. Self-regarding actions, he said, shouldn't be regulated by the state, because these actions only harm the actor and other consenting adults. So if you are doing a self-regarding action, let's say you want to eat 20 donuts in one sitting, that's sort of a self-regarding action. You're only hurting yourself by doing that. You're not hurting other people. So other regarding actions, like driving your car recklessly, might harm you, but it might also harm other people. And people who are not consenting to be harmed. So again, if your friend is going to, one example I gave in the book is the idea of smoking at home. So if you're smoking at home with just your spouse and they're consenting to be in the room with you while you're smoking, yes, you might be harming them, but they're a consenting adult. If you're smoking in a public place, then it's an other guarding action because it could harm other people who are not consenting necessarily to be harmed by you in that instance. But you can see already how this distinction might be difficult to figure out, because maybe smoking inside your home does affect more other people than we think. So what if you require health care because you are smoking? What if taxpayers have to fund your care? What if nurses and doctors have to treat you for your illness that comes from smoking? So Mill's distinction might be helpful, but it might not totally help us completely figure this idea out of what should be regulated by the state and what shouldn't, and which freedoms we should be allowed to have and which ones might need to be curtailed for the benefit of society. It's just really a starting point. So we've just kind of barely touched on these issues, but at least gives you an idea of where these kind of problems with figuring out how to structure society start to come in just with respect to freedom.